Okay, welcome back to our Pixlr tutorials. We are up to the Retouch button, which is going to be very useful for really many of the things that you're going to be doing, especially if it's like, let's say, your own photo and you have a zit or something like that. This becomes something that is very useful in your picture adventures. So the way that this works is, if you could imagine that something here was a zit, let's say. What can I tell you? I don't have too many in this picture. But let's say this piece of hair right here was a zit. So this is going to be too big to patch, because watch what happens if I click that. Okay, it's going to collect everything in that circle. It's going to try to fix that whole circle by what's on the outside of the circle. So what you have to do is you have to make the circle smaller. So now if all you're doing is clicking this, chances are you'll get a better patch. Now obviously, as you can see, we didn't necessarily, but if you make it even smaller, there you go. You get a little bit easier. And by the way, you can see that because we've been working on it, but if I showed you this picture just like this, you would never be able to tell that I took that little piece of hair out, especially when most people just look at a picture and then look away. You know, where you run into kind of interesting adventures in this is if you try something bigger, like that voting sticker, right? So the voting sticker, if I make the circle big enough, just big enough for the voting sticker, and then I go boom, let's see what happens. So that doesn't really work out, you know. If you really wanted to take the time to get rid of that voting circle, first of all, what I would suggest is just crop the photo to above it. That might be your easiest bet. But the other case, you could try to do what is called the clone stamp tool. Clone stamp is where you select an area that you want to stamp over. Okay, so my source is, let's say, here, and then my clone stamp, well, let's make the size a little bit bigger, and then I try to do that and see if I get any luckier. Now you see, that's a little bit luckier because at least the lines are going the same direction. Now, I'm not going to spend my time showing you how I would expertly take out that I love voting sticker, but that is what you would use. You know, the clone stamp comes in when a simple patch tool that uses AI doesn't work. But, you could also change the softness and transparency of the clone stamp. Here you have sharpen and blur. You're not really going to be using that very often. That's sort of like where you see the edges of something and you want to blur the edges a little more, or if you take something and that is blurry and you want to sharpen it more, you could see that the pixels get more concentrated in the area that you're doing that. So if I keep clicking this, you'll see it starts to get a little like this, because really what it's doing is it's over concentrating the existing pixels that are there, and it's working on that level. So then if you take a look over here, you have this, it's called the Shine, Dodge, Shade, Burn tool. So let's say you increase the size here, and watch what happens when you go. See that? You can decide to make something brighter or darker in a photo without affecting the rest of the photo. So if you decide, let's say, that you want to give me a black eye, you make this a little bit bigger, make the softness a little less soft, and you go boom, and now it looks like I got punched in the eye. So see how that works just with a couple of clicks, and you made it like I showed up for picture day with the shiner. So there's a lot of different methods of changing a photo with this whole retouch menu, and that's basically everything there is there. Over here on the drawing menu, it's literally what it says. You have this add new drawing, and your tool is either by shape or by brush, and you could just start drawing. Note that it makes a new layer when you draw. So that's very helpful if you decide you're done with it. It doesn't actually draw into your existing photo so that it ruins the photo. It's actually a layer on top of your photo that automatically gets created when you are creating the drawing. If you were to do it in a shape, it would just be like, oh, I drew a shape on the photo. You know, I drew this, and you could, change your colors and so on and so forth. Over here by the text, that's also pretty much what it says. You just can make a text box, type in here what it should say, like here is a rabbi. And then you would end up, the font you could choose here, your color obviously. Now, here's the thing. When you make a photo, the way that, in the memes that you're used to, the reason why you're able to read the letters so well is because they have an outline on them. So if you click outline here and you set the color to be all the way black, you'll start to see that looks a lot like the memes you're used to. So this method, white letters with a black outline, the reason why you see so many things like that, and they're in impact. Let's see if the impact font exists here. It doesn't, but that's fine. Let's go with Gustavo. Who cares? So the reason why you can read this so well is because white letters with a black outline is readable on any background whatsoever. If you just go ahead with white with black outline, you will never not be able to read the letters. So if you're trying to put text inside of a photo, that would be the best way to do it. You can mess with the letter spacing here, the line spacing over here, obviously the size. There are all these little sliders and it's very easy to use them, and your colors are here. Now, by the way, down here, this is the if you can get the RGB value and then you can get the hex value for a color, and that, let's say, let's say what is the hex value of blue, and you were to say so let's try that out. Okay, and we go back here and we tell Pixlr that we want it to be this hex value. Look how it moves us over to blue. See that? So if you can get a hex value, if you can get something in RGB on another website and then ask for the RGB version of hex value, the hex value of an RGB version, then you can do any color you want on an entire spectrum of colors. Another very useful tool is, let's say you want to color match it to something else in the picture. So you would click this little eyedropper and then choose a very specific area, and it'll give you the exact color that you went over. This is very helpful for style and design when you don't want to have two different color blues in the same, or two different color anything really in the same photo. You can use the eyedropper to help you pick a photo. Flesh colored text outline, for whatever that is. And so as you can see, there's really like a lot of different things that you can do here. You can, align it. You can change the text casing, different things like that. And then over here you have add element, which is sort of, these are all things you can do on your own, but you could do a bokeh overlay, which is sort of like where you can, it's tough to explain really, but it gives you this ability to like add different things. These are all things that don't affect the picture itself, but are overlaid on top of it. And so this would just be adding random things that you think might make your, obviously it doesn't take a school picture and make it look good, but it does come in handy in other scenarios. If you go back over here to your add elements, you also can see that you can add borders to your photo. So if you do like old, I can just put it right around the photo like that, make the transparency. I'm not going to go through every single one of these because you can see for yourself what all of them do. You can add shapes onto your photo. Sorry, you have to click it, not drag it. Do different things like that, and there's really just a lot of stuff that you can add on. Put a birthday hat on me, things like that. There's just a lot of different things that you can do in this add element. Then if you go to add image, this is literally what it says. It's just adding another image on top of an image, and this is where you would do it. You would click here to upload, or you would drop it somewhere from your file explorer. Anyway, I think that is it for our tutorials. Hope you enjoyed, and good luck making pictures. Bye.